I thought it would be helpful to go over some of the supplies I used to create the lesson for today, because I really want you to have a positive experience when using PanPastel. It makes a huge difference in what supplies you use. Really depends on what kind of experience you're going to have. And I find the number one top material that really has kind of changed my experience with the medium is the UART premium sanded pastel paper. The biggest thing to note is this is a 600 grade. It comes in multiple grades, and grades are the coarseness of the paper. It goes from down to 400 all the way up to 800. With this PanPastel, the 600 doesn't eat up your soft tools, and it's fine enough to be able to do all the different, like PanPastel with the sticks, with the pastel pencils. I find it all goes really well together with this grade. I started out buying it in the sheets, and now I buy it in the bulk rolls. And it's just, I've used a lot of it. And the other thing is that it's kind of, people don't understand is you don't need to seal the pastel painting when you've used this paper. It grips onto it so much that it allows you to not have to feel like it's all going to fall off. And I mean, I thought, oh, I'll do this really funny video for social media and I'll spray off a painting I didn't like, and that's going to be really cool. And I go to spray it off and none of the pastel really moved off the paper. I had to scrub it with a scrub brush, and it does hold on to the medium really well. But then also it still allows you a lot of flexibility, and it is one of the papers that I find allows me to layer a lot more and also erase. Erasing is really important in my process because I don't use the eraser as a, mistake. It's more of a tool. I use a white eraser. You can cut these up into different sizes to get into different parts and make different mark making. The white eraser is really valuable to me once I realize it's not a mistake. It's how I bring back the tooth of the piece and mix things up a bit and change. I can erase whole sections and add in different types of ideas that I wouldn't have normally been able to do. So it erases really well. So that is number one. The eraser's very important too. I really wanted to make this lesson approachable to a lot of people and not have to make you feel like you have to make a huge investment. Because I know there are some people out there that have dabbled in PanPastel through mixed media and everything, and maybe they just haven't had a full experience. And that's what I kind of want to show you today is what I've done is I've limited the palettes. I have the whole set basically. I basically just don't have the pearlescence. I have some of the golds and silver and things like that. But these 6 is what I use to create this whole piece. And I think that's a great way to start out. You can do so much with a limited palette. You just need to have the right values. And so I have pulled out my darks and the lights, and they create this harmony, and I will be showing you that throughout the lesson. The other thing I wanted to talk about that I felt was really important is the Sofft tools. They work, like I said, really well with the UART sanded paper. They don't, the biggest complaint I've heard is some people are like, well, the Sofft tools, they just break up and wear away, and not when you're using them with the right graded paper, and if you're also not being too heavy-handed with the tools. My favorite tool is the small applicator. There's also one that you can interchange the top. I feel like that I don't get as much detail and I can't feel the tool as well. This is my favorite. It's a high density foam that has been created just for PanPastel. I narrowed it down to just two tools plus a third for the tracing, the oval. But this oval I use for mostly the backgrounds here, and this is what I use for the rest of the piece. I use this oval for the tracing transfer, creating tracing paper out of the pastel. Going and getting like makeup brushes and trying to get by on a cheaper way with these Sofft tools, it's just not worth it. They're just not as dense, and they affect your experience. And I think they're reasonably priced, worth to get started out. Even if you just got these 2 pieces, that it would be worth experiencing what that's like, and so you can see the difference yourself. The sharpener I find out works the best is it's worth getting a good sharpener. I've gone through many hand cranks and all of that. This sharpener, the brass one from M&R, it has replaceable blades. I replace the blades frequently, and that has affected my experience. And it's harder to find the blades to some places, but I finally found a local place that I can get them from and order ahead. So I order like 4 or 5 packs of these. And then the brass one, I like the circle one the best, and it has 2 different ones, but I only load the one blade. I don't load the one on the other side. This is really great for the pastel pencils. The pastel pencils are just more sensitive, and this allows me to keep them sharp how I like them for my pieces. The other really important tool or supply is the Wolff carbon pencil. This I found kind of by mistake, but I just was trying out all different types of like charcoal and different things like that, and the staying power of this pencil really affects how the piece turns out. If you just use regular pastel pencil, it just wipes away and doesn't stay. This has this little bit of extra staying power, and it has, if you want to kind of achieve this look, then this is really important. And I also threw in there Townsend extra dark pastel stick. PanPastel, the one thing is they don't seem to have extra, they say extra dark on their pieces, but I'm talking like extra dark, where I like to go really dark with some of the parts in my pieces. And I also like to have where it's not just solid black. I like to have a stick that has a little bit of other color in it, so it keeps the painting alive. Black is just fine for learning. You can get away with just using the black PanPastel for this. I just show in there the difference of popping in this extra dark in some of these spots, and you can see the difference in the video. So I do go over this a little bit. It's not a must, but I do love adding this in my work. The other thing is the dowel. This was from a toy like that you play. You have like, it had a stick with 2 ends on it, and it's a juggling kind of toy. I found it at Goodwill, and it was a really good find because I love it. You can just use a regular dowel. You can get those at any craft store. There's also, you could use a long paintbrush. You could use, I'm sure the dowels aren't hard to find. It would be worth getting a little dowel. And this just really keeps my hands clean and the piece clean. I've learned to use this, and I love it so much. I could not paint without this now because I'm so used to it. I just prop it up and work with the sections, and that keeps my hands clean. The other thing I wanted to talk about is your setup. I'm working at a full easel. I stand most of my sessions, but I know not everyone has a full easel in their studio. I'm thinking some of you might have a table easel or even one that will convert into an easel lying around, and you could put the aluminum foil on that and prop this up and have it where that dust sheds into the foil tray. I think it's really important to try to set yourself up that way because you just have a more positive experience because the pastel is sloughing down into the tray naturally. Worst case scenario, if you still want to try doing that sitting and having your piece flat, I understand. I cut out I use a paper bag, and what I do is I'll even spray in the paper bag so it doesn't fluff out, and I will just get the piece to be able to fit into the bag, and then I just tap into it. and that allows you to keep resetting your work. The one thing I'd like to stress is to really don't get in a habit of blowing on your work. If I blow on my work, I take it outside and we'll blow it off to get that kind of restart on the piece. But for the most part, I just tap and it shakes down, and that really works well. I'm really excited to get started, so I'll see you there.